and welcome to this episode of the LARP Noobs, concluding E2 Sunday, with me, Bungle, and the wonderful Millie.
Hello.
There we go, that's the energy.
My name is Millie Consequences, everybody.
Yep.
Yep.
That's an idea for a testimony for you.
Oh, no.
Just consequences.
Oh, my God. That would be so funny. That would be so funny. But none of my characters actually understanding what that word means.
Yeah.
That would be so good.
But just having it tattooed on your soul.
Yeah. Oh, my God. We might actually have to make that happen.
I can do it.
Hell yeah. But anyway, if anybody who hasn't listened to our first part where we talked about our Friday and the Saturday, feel free to go back and give it a listen. But as a brief, previously on Empire, battle on the Saturday, monstered. Agni and Gellet join the militia.
Yep.
Agni antagonises various different members of the Empire.
Yep.
All while Keys is watching her darling husband.
Her darling husband trying to advise her to stop.
Yep.
For actions do have consequences.
Yep. And lo and behold, they do. Agni gets cursed. Keys watches.
Yep, Keys watches like,
yep.
I told you had consequences.
Yeah. Talus blows bubbles. Gellet does actually do work. Yeah.
Does some militia work.
Yeah. So that's actually a brief rundown of our Friday and Saturday. And now on to Sunday.
Sunday.
Hell yeah.
Once again, I wake up really early in the morning and get a fire going.
Yeah, it was, although to be so I was awake listening outside, like listening to the tent outside, and I just hear, I'm going to bring that fire over to you guys.
Yeah, it made more sense.
But it's just...
I was sober and I know what I'm doing when I'm not drinking.
I know, but it was just really funny because like my health and safety brain goes straight to, oh God, he's going to pick up a fire pit and walk it over, which is exactly what you're doing, but you'd only just lit it.
I'd only just lit it, and basically my fire pit has got legs that come off of it. Yeah. Which you can grab by the bottom of the legs, and the heat hasn't transferred down to that at all.
Yeah. So it was totally fine, but that woke me up.
Safe. So that's how I woke my wonderful darling LARP wife up.
Yeah, exactly.
Was by saying, I'm moving a fire.
Yeah. If Mohammed will not come to the mountain.
Exactly. So I took that over to the Dreadshields camp because I'd been sitting by their fire all weekend. It made sense I'd started a fire. A few of them were getting up and it was a bit chilly. So I'll bring the fire to you guys. Yay.
But I'll tell you what it wasn't doing, Bung, on Sunday morning.
Raining.
It wasn't raining. There was sunshine. It
rained at about 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
In the morning.
But it was finished by the time the majority of everyone was getting up.
Yes. I was awake but lying in the sleeping bag going, please stop raining, I need to go to the bathroom.
That is the worst, isn't it? It's like when you can hear nothing but the raindrops on the canvas and you're like, no.
But then you're thinking, is that just the water coming off the trees or is it still raining?
Yeah. But anyway, so we all wake up and it is Navarre's time to take the field.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you with all of your experience when you came to fighting, but I much prefer doing the fight as your character on the Sunday.
Yes, because by the Sunday I'm just, so you know what, this is the last thing that's done.
Yeah.
If I don't want to be like having to get up on a Sunday morning, get into monster kit.
Yeah.
Go down monster, get out of monster kit, get into my regular kit for a couple of hours, and then change again.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're battling on as your own surf on Sunday, it's like you get into your kit, you go down, you battle as your guy, you come back.
Yeah, so I like it as well because you get into your whole like regalia. Agni, I need to sort out my battle kit. I need armor, and I know that. So at the end, we spoke about it briefly. I think in pre-LARP, I can't remember.
Yes.
I'm going to go and work in a workshop over the long dark and get trained in how to make actual leather armor, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
I have to get you to make me some.
No. Well, I mean, I would, to be fair. I don't think it would be very good armor. But I will happily make you something. But yeah, so wake up. I have a now that I'm cursed. I'm very conscious of the fact that we are going on to fight with the Crimson Reapers, and I now have very like strict RP rules.
Yes.
That, I mean, this isn't to say that if you get any kind of RP influence at Empire, you absolutely have to adhere to them at all times. I was merely doing it for the memeage. So I had a pot of instant porridge and a cup of tea and stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'm about to take the field with people who know that I'm cursed with an unending hunger.
Yeah.
Let's fuck about and find out. So we go down, we get ready, I make my breakfast, but I don't eat it then, which was torture. Especially when muster, for Navarre especially, we were way later than I'm used to it being.
Yeah, it was just after 10, I think, the muster, wasn't it?
Yeah, so like normally we muster at 10, we have a speech, we go down to the gate, have a chill out there,
yeah.
Get ready. We mustered at like 20 past 10.
Yeah.
It was, and we had the Hammer, who is the sort of the main, would you say field marshal? But not, they weren't the field marshal of that fight.
Yeah.
But they were sort of briefing us all, telling us what's going on, which is so helpful. Because we all knew exactly what we needed to do. We were going in, we're fighting the Grendel.
Yeah.
We as Navarre were going in last.
As standard. Either in first or in last.
Yeah. So we were going in last, and the reason why we were going in last was because they wanted us to sweep the field at the end and just keep momentum going. So think of it like in Return of the King, when all of the ghosts come and basically just tear through the battlefield.
Yes.
That is what Navarre's job was.
Fun.
Yeah, right. And we were, because we were fighting the Grendel, we had several objectives. The first of which was Kraken egg hunting. Yeah. So we had to find Kraken eggs, we had to smash the Kraken eggs, and then we had to return the shells of the eggs to our generals to then go to military council to count them up.
Yeah.
We also had to stop rituals from going on. So there were several regios that we had to go and interrupt. And then on top of that, we had a couple of other things. There was a small child on the field, which wasn't actually a child, but it was someone from a wealthy family who, if we managed to collect them and bring them home, they would promise a large amount of money to the nation that brought them home.
Yeah.
So there was that one. Then there was also an undercover agent of a Navarre sort of captain, Georg. Yeah. They had a person undercover amongst the Grendel's ranks who they basically had to not kill. So, yeah. So we had someone to not kill and bring home, someone to not kill and not ruin their cover. Kraken eggs to smash and rituals to interrupt. This was my kind of battle. And especially for because last event Gellert didn't take the field because he was just a bit too tired, so I was fully ready to just be Agni alone again on the field. And 5 minutes before we leave for muster, Gellert emerges from the tent. And I have never been so happy to have the battlefield tourists back. It was just really nice because it was like the good old days, you know, like Gellert and Agni at it again, beat cops on the battlefield. This was what we were supposed to do. So we get to the Sentinel Gate. Literally as it's...
One thing to note is there is also a miasma going on this battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
Which could have been anointed against.
Yeah.
But majority of people opted against it because it would give you bloodlust, which gave you actually cleave and just murderous rage.
Yeah, so we got an extra hero point as well. So we had there was a lot going on, but it's okay because Agni had her Gellert, And we all felt very safe and very secure. Got to the field, got to the Sentinel Gate, didn't even have like a minute to decompress and get ready for the battlefield because the gate was basically open. So we had, who did we have on the battlefield with us? We had Varushka. We had, with Varushka were the Crimson Reapers. We had the Brass Coast again. We had High Guard. And there was Navarre, obviously. I'm not sure. I don't think Urizen was with us. I think that they were monstering. But either way, we were very small. It was a very small army. We did have some heavy hitters with High Guard because they're all clanky boys.
But they're clanky, but there's not a huge amount of them. No,
exactly. And there's only so much space that Andy Connell and his incredible stature can take up.
Yes. That guy's a giant, and he's just amazing. I'm so glad he is now on our side of the fence.
Right?
That's all I can say. There's something always, like, I remember back in the day monstering, and when he was part of the skirmish crew, and seeing him in one of the ice giant costumes.
Oh my god! Yeah,
it's like the stature of him as it is, but then imagine him sort of like jumped up on a bit of stilts and longer arms. It's like, you were terrifying, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were all going through. Navarre were going through last. We hit the field, and it's very quiet. There's not much, there's no fighting going on at the moment. It's just people forming lines up in the field. And Anwen, who's our sort of main general on the Navarre side, takes us all into the woods. And we're kind of running through the woods. Gellert and I forgot about this actually. So after Anwen's big briefing, Gellert just inserts himself into the captain's meeting, which is one of my favourite things that Dave does. He just stands there and takes himself off into meetings. And I wish I had the balls to do that, because we left that briefing being Anwen's personal bodyguards, which... If you saw us in a field where there's Gellert with his he's got his mage staff, but no, he doesn't take his fancy rod on the battlefield. But he's wearing mage armor, so he doesn't have any armor on, like physically. He is protected though. Agni, on the other hand, no scrap of armor. I did have the option of wearing your chain, but I decided against it because I was just quite tired, and I thought, I'm just going to be a battlefield tourist anyway, doesn't matter. Cut to me with my tiny little short sword, no shield, no armor, bodyguarding our main general in Navarre. So we're running through the woods, and a whole band of Grendel start coming at us. And at this point, Navarre hadn't formed up. So Gellert and I are basically on the front lines, which is terrifying.
Where the battlefield tourists don't want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't even have my snack it packet. I had nothing. It was terrifying.
No.
Yeah, I know, right? So this is all happening. The Grendel start engaging us. There's a lot of Grendel. Navarre are fighting in the woods, but on the main field, everybody else is battling with war rhinos. Which I'll find some photos and pop it in the link dump. They are terrifying. They're huge rigs. We also had the lobsters were back. The only way to kill lobsters is by shattering them first and then attacking. And then you can attack them. Navarre were getting decimated with the lobsters in the woods because every single hit of theirs was a strike down and a shatter. So weapons were going flying, shields were getting shattered.
Pretty brutal.
All of the Grendel had cleaves because of the miasma, so people were getting cleaved. There were arrows flying, so everybody was getting impaled. And then you look right to try and get some support from in the field and see war rhinos and more Grendel and more arrows. And everybody's in the same situation where we're kind of just getting decimated. Yeah. It's at this point where the Dreadshields lose one of their own.
Yep, I think he got signed into the Dreadshields that event as well.
Oof. Yeah. So people start dying, which is never fun when you're on the battlefield. It's always a very strange interaction, especially with that mix of like IC and OC, because you often see people lying there with their hands in the air, and then you're like, oh no. Oh no. And it's at this point where I run into Theon Embercast, who's played by Sophie, and they are crying. And it's really difficult for me, OC, to deal with people crying, because I kind of do that whole British thing of, But Agni and her have a moment. We're chatting. You know, she's going like, I couldn't save him. I tried, but there was nothing that she could do. They were too far gone. So, you know, we have that moment. Everybody's starting to get really emotional because people are seeing that people are dying. Which, when you're Empire, kind of gets like, not people die on the field, but never in the quantities that I'd seen. So we keep on pushing. We get to Midgate. We get through Midgate, and we get into the main sort of forest part of the battlefield. There isn't much going on, except line fighting at this point. So everybody forms up. You've got Navarre on the left. The Brass Coast are somewhere in the middle, with High Guard, and then the Reapers are on the far right. So we're all kind of quite spread out. And there isn't enough shield fighters, because all of the shields have been shattered, basically. There isn't enough shield fighters to form a proper line. And out of the corner of my eye, I see shark faces.
Dreaded land sharks.
Yeah. And Siaka heralds, who are terrifying. For like costuming wise, they're basically all just wearing long white robes, but then they've got like morph suit heads with shark teeth on them.
Yeah, horrific sort of shark faces.
Yeah, they kind of look like what's it called? Scary Guy, long arms.
Slender Man.
Yeah, they kind of look like Slender Man, but with
I'll throw your name from those, Scary Guy.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, so they start absolutely decimating what little lines we had. And the Siaka Heralds are strong boys. Like, they were not going down. They were all ambi as well. So there were 2 swords in each of them, and there were about 20 of those heralds. There was no way that we were like ever doing anything. So everybody starts getting sort of mushed together. Gellert goes down. To which we should never be on the front lines as battlefield tourists. Unbelievable behaviour from the man in the former senator here. We managed to get him up. So he's up. He's fine. And all I hear from Gellert is, God, I'm having so much fun. I should be a frontline fighter more often. And I was just there like, no, Gellert, we stay at the back. This is where the back is where we're safe. To which Gellert turns around and goes straight back to the front lines. So I'm there. I'm doing my physicking. Everybody's going down. The Star Seekers are there. There's Malik. There's Nia. We got the Dread Shields as well. So everybody's fighting. It is a hard fight. Like, there's Neve, who's played by Chloe from Larps and Tarps. They're struggling because it's their first time being a line captain. Did a phenomenal job. really good, very good leadership. But the line was faltering. There was just nothing that they could do about it. And Gellert goes and starts picking a fight with one of the Siaka heralds. One very quickly turns into 5.
Yeah.
And he goes down again. And there is nothing that we can do. He's down. He's surrounded by the Siaka heralds. There is not enough of a line to bring him back. And it's a really shit situation. I'm getting really teary just thinking about it.
I can hear in your voice.
Wow.
Wow.
But yeah, so Dave's down on the floor, Gellert's down on the floor, and you just lose sight of him because the Siaka heralds are surrounding him. And this is at this point everything's kind of going on. We've got a referee in front of us that's saying the ground is unfit for us to fight there, so we need to pause and push back. So we're moving back. The Grendel line is advancing into the space that we've just retreated from, but the Siaka heralds are still with Gellert.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching as he's just getting beaten and mauled and all of this stuff, and there's nothing I can do because I am not equipped. This is my big annoyance of the whole thing is I've got 2 hit points and a tiny short sword. No shield, no hope, I've got rid of all of my hero points now. So I turn around and I'm trying to find people that we know. I find Georg. I go, Georg, Gellert is down. The line is retreating. We have to get him. He tries, but he's not got enough people. I go to the Dread Shields. I go to Murdoch. I'm like, Murdoch, Gellert's down. I don't know what to do. I am actually at this point as well, I've given in to the whole emotions thing. I am crying, I'm screaming. It's a really weird emotional position to be in because you are feeling that genuine anxiety, but you don't know what you can actually do about it. So try with the Dread Shields, but the Dread Shields have lost their own people now, so they're in no position. Find Anwen. Anwen's there's no way. The Crimson Reapers are all down, not down, but they're fighting somewhere else. They've got their own Siaka heralds to deal with. It is a mess. And then I look over to Gellert, and he's got his hand in the air. Which for anyone who doesn't go to LARP, that means that they are no longer in game. They are out of that game. And I'm just there shit. And I turn around and I see Big Darius, Big Daddy D. We don't really interact very much in character unless it's with Gellert. So so because Darius has this big story with the Ashbourne, right? And he's looking at me, and he notices that Gellert is not with Agni. And I just go, he's gone. And the look that Darius gets on his face and the anger, and he just lays into the lines, and he's screaming. He's like, Navarre, no mercy. We kill every single fucking Grendel on this field. We get our friend back, body or nothing. And it is horrible.
Darius is a amazing player and character.
So it's a very emotional situation that we're all in. I'm
blissfully unaware back at camp.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is all going on. OC, I have a little moment where, because I carry Dave's phone on the battlefield, and he's split off from me now, and there's no way that we can actually interact. So I go talk to a ref. I duck out of character for a second. I give Dave all of his stuff back. I have a little check-in with him. And he's just there like, because obviously he hasn't, I don't think he planned it.
No.
Because who would? Exactly.
No.
Well, yeah, I know what I mean. So he hadn't planned this. He just needs his stuff back. So I go and give that. I then return to the battlefield, and Dave walks off. And that is when it really properly sinks into me. And Agni just loses it. I do the whole thing.
Takes over.
Yeah, legit, right? And I can't remember what film we likened it to, but is it Point Break, where the guy gets on his knees and just fires his gun up into the air?
Yeah, when he sort of he's lying down about to shoot, and then just turns up and shoots up in the air because he shows so much respect for him.
Yeah. So
they also do it at the end of Hot Fuzz.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he does.
In reference.
Yeah. So that's what I do. I literally like collapse on the floor, and I am screaming and crying and bawling, and I just let all of the emotions take over, and it is actually incredibly cathartic. Like it's really fun. And I've got like Fionn coming in and like trying to comfort me. I've got Otis and Murdoch holding off the Grendel in front of me while I'm having this moment to kind of like help get me up, take me back, because Navarre are retreating. Like we are being pushed out of the forest and pushed out of the field, and it's the Dread Shields that are holding that back line. Because basically everybody's gone, and it's Navarre and the Dread Shields in particular that have got the shield line, and they are slowly retreating. And it is one of the most incredible moments of RP that I've ever had, because it's kind of like that thing of Agni trying to fight forward and be like, no, we need to go get his body. And all of Navarre going, no, we're going. And it is like, it's great RP. So we get through, we finish the retreat. There's that weird moment where you're kind of OC as you're walking back to the Sentinel Gate. And I go to Oily, and I go, Oily, have you got any fake blood on you? And he goes, yeah, of course I've got fake blood. And I cover myself in it. So like it's all over my hands, my arms. I put it on my face. Like this whole thing's going on. Get through the Sentinel Gate, and I just engage little trauma Agni mode. Yeah. So I'm kind of just like bawling my eyes out, staring off into space, and just shaking. And so much so that like a couple of refs check in with me, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And it's like one of those weird things where you break character for a second, and you're all smiles, and you're just there like, "No, I'm fine, I promise." And then 2 seconds later, you're then just back in like
into it.
And it's a really weird thing, because you're concentrating so much on being that traumatized and that shaken up that you're not really taking anything in visually. But what you are taking in is people talking around you. And there are these really weird murmurs going through the forces as they see Agni walk away, but no Gellet. And you hear Murdoch and Otis and everybody just saying Gellet fell, and the ripples that is creating through the battlefield and through the lines and through everyone that's back. Yeah,
it was because the first death I heard of was one of the Ember cast. Who'd come back and then basically died in this event. But at the time, I was speaking to Galen about sorting stuff out for the shield.
Yeah.
But then one of his has just come back and says, "Oh, one of ours is." Also, I'm not going to say names because it'll probably come up on their podcast. I'm not going to tread on their toes. So yeah, he ends up. I was like, "I'll catch up with you later, or even next event.
Yeah,
go deal with this." So I'm thinking, okay, so that's pretty gnarly. then obviously you speak to someone who's like, oh, we've lost these people. So, okay. Then we're looking around, it's like, there's no Agni and no Gellet currently.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So, getting started together, sort of a lot worry that my two friends, well, my wife and my close friend are dead.
Yeah.
Then you turn up covered in blood. I mean, OC-wise, David had already come back to the camp with his hand up.
Yeah. Right.
Like, you fucking arsehole.
Yeah.
Go hide in your tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you rock up covered in blood, just screaming.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's all sort of like slowly sinking in. Like, Keys can be quite stoic at times.
Yeah.
So it's like putting this brave face on, like talking to people about what's going on, who's carked it.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And then me and Talis go to the funeral glade. We go up with the Dreadshields, because they're obviously for their guy.
Yeah.
Going up there, me and Talis even are there.
Yeah.
And we're sort of just staying in the funeral glade talking about it. And then it's like, I'll take off my the ambition rune I wear around my neck. The little leather one. Took that off. We looped it into one of Talis's bracelets. Yeah. Wrote Gellet Ashbourne Burn Bright on the back of it, and then threaded it up on the tree.
Oh.
And we're just sort of standing there. Then the tears start coming in. Oh. And sort of as this is all happening, sort of boom, boom, boom. Then I hear the telltale sound of camera shutters, and I'm like, oh great, someone's got me ugly crying. It's gonna be fun.
No.
So we've got loads of that. Like Talis is singing the song that he sang when you got welcomed into the Ashbourne.
Yeah.
Which is quite a somber song, considering we use it for all our ceremonies.
Yeah.
There's that, and then after doing all that, we go back to camp, and then it's coming up to standing.
Yeah.
And it's like going around, like, who knows someone who's passed, who was killed in this battle.
Yeah.
And I was trying before the standing to find the senators to inform them that Gellet had gone. Yeah. Couldn't find any of them.
Yeah.
So when they get round, and then someone points at Talis, and Talis, like, let's go around the circle. It's like Gellet Ashbourne.
Yeah.
Well, taken over from him.
Yeah, but it's like this. Just for a little bit of context. So when we're in standing, no, don't be sorry. It's all fine. Yeah. When we're in standing, we get it's basically the Navari way of doing a little brief at the end of the battle, right? Yeah. So we turn up to standing after you've done the funeral glade. I've done a little thing. I've basically just been crying my eyes out, like doing all of the Agni RP. We meet at standing. Anwen's saying how much pride they take within Navarre. Like, there's no talk about any kind of defeat, because I'm not actually sure if we did our objectives.
We wasn't sure if we'd actually succeeded or not at that point.
Yeah,
but I think Anwen was going through the commendations.
Yeah, and there was
a lot for Navarre.
There were a lot for Navarre, including some of the Dusk Owls who had also fallen. They had a posthumous one. Neve from the Dreadshields got a commendation. First time for being Lime Captain, doing it amazingly. A lot of people. I think there were about eight commendations, which is big. And then somebody comes in who I think they're from the League, and in the League they've got a Book of the Dead. Yeah. And they say, I will go around the circle, and I will point.
Sort of move their arm around in a circle, don't they?
And when their hand is in line with you, you say the name of somebody that fell, and you can then carry on.
So. Goes through several people, then hits where Talis is standing, because he's queuing to talk about this, and says Gellet Ashbourne, and it's just seeing it on Rowan Wasteland Path's face, because she's the one who obviously Gellet stood out of the race and voted for her to become senator. Or them, sorry.
It's a big thing, and like
and that they were so shocked to hear the news. And it's like, I'm so sorry, I just literally stopped the circle, go around, just had to sort of basically say, it's like, in regards to Gellet as a person, sort of thing. Yeah. Then that all goes on, and then later on, obviously, we have Leafy turns up, because he didn't hear about it until he was in the Senate. Yeah. Yeah. Had a lot of people coming up asking about things and that whatnot. Yeah. Which will be discussed at a later date.
Yeah. It always is really interesting, because like we said in the E1 episode when Damarian died. Yeah. You don't realise how much influence a character had until they're dead. Like, it's just as harsh as it is. And the new senator for Hakinia had said the last interaction they'd had with Gellert was Gellert offering them assistance and help.
Yeah.
And similarly with when his death was announced in Senate, apparently the High Guard senator fell on his knees and started bawling.
Oh wow!
Because you don't
realize how much impact.
No, exactly. And Dave as a person is incredible and wonderful and very keen to help players. Yeah. And then Icy Gellert had been around for how long? 5 years?
Yeah, it was second character.
Yeah.
So, came in before the longest arc.
Yeah. So, so it's been around for at least 4 years.
Yeah.
All of Agnes, I met Gellert in my first event coming to Empire. Yeah. And then obviously being with Gellert and Dave, same person, blah blah.
Yeah.
Gave me all of the game that I have. The reason I know the Crimson Reapers is because of Dave. The reason I do Senate game is because of Dave. The reason I do all of my various different bits with all the other senators is Dave. Yarm, Dave. Everything that I have done at Empire has been linked to and with Gellert Ashbourne.
Yeah, pretty much the same with me, because I've been with the Yarm stuff. I was basically working as security because he had that death threat on him.
Yeah.
Then became his proxy when he became senator.
Yeah.
So sort of I'm and that weird thing was what the fuck do I do now?
Yeah, exactly right. And it's just really touching that that when somebody dies, the ripples that they cast, just how wide they go. And knowing that it wasn't just the Ashbourne that were going through that hard time, it was kind of like a big shock to everyone. I
think total casualties from Navarre about 11 for the battle.
Yeah, well, those were just the ones announced at standing, and not all of the the Dread Shields weren't at standing. None of the EP were at standing.
I think they were named at standing though.
Yeah. But yeah, so the names that were announced at standing isn't all of them. I don't think there were a few more.
No.
But yeah, it was a heavy day.
Oh yeah.
And it was interesting. And Talis, when they finished doing the Book of the Dead, and they finished doing all that, the senators had their the moment to speak, because it's just before the afternoon Senate sessions, so they have to get their words out quickly and then run off. They all do that. Talis comes out and speaks and says, I'm sure you've heard this, that Gellert has fallen. The influence that Gellert had on the game, on the field, was insurmountable, and we would like to give the nation a chance to mourn with us. And then,
so basically he's set me up to invite everyone to the fucking telling.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is going to be such a good game for you. I'm so excited to witness it.
Well, let's put it this way. You remember Sinwigs?
Yeah.
I'm going to be pushing that sort of a level of emotion if I can.
It's going to be so good. But yeah, so basically Talis announces that we'll be having a telling for Gellert at the next event.
Yeah.
We, because of all this stuff going on, we had planned to do Damarian's telling after the battle, but obviously it didn't work because it was just so emotional. So
I'm going to be in touch with Angus about trying to perhaps do it first thing Friday.
Yeah.
For Damarian's.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's an emotional afternoon, isn't it, Bung?
Yeah, very emotional thing. And I also got summoned over to the Crimson Reapers on the Sunday afternoon after the battle.
Oh, yeah.
Because Benno D. Carver was Gellert's lawyer, paid for by his late ex-husband. Well, his late husband, should we say.
Yeah.
So, so I've seen the will. I've seen what requests he wants for his funeral.
I know, it's so good, isn't it?
So yeah, that is this is why I need to be writing a lot of IC letters right now.
Yeah. It's gonna be big. And I think it's gonna be, I was thinking about this the other day, like when you said about having your emotional thing and then hearing the shutter clicks.
Yeah.
Because I kind of had a little bit of a moment this event where I was having a really big sort of thing. So obviously we have the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I love doing the podcast. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I love doing it, and I love interacting with people. But this event is the event where I started noticing people who have listened to the podcast coming and interacting with us in character.
Yeah.
Which is amazing and wonderful. Like, don't get me wrong, it's great. But it's also like it's a lot for me personally to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around it much longer, so I think I'm more used to it, and I've met a few of these people previously.
Yeah, and
whereas you're quite new to this whole podcasty thing.
And so. I've like, this isn't me saying don't come and talk to me, because I love it and I love hearing about other people, but I've never been in such an emotional state before.
Yeah,
and having loads of people come in because they've listened to the podcast before and they know Gellet, and coming and trying to talk to me, and I didn't know how to react. So for anybody that did that and they think that I didn't react very well, I'm sorry. Like, it wasn't anything personal. I just had a lot going on, both mentally, in character and out of character. And it was a really weird and cathartic, like I said earlier, like end to the Sunday. Because we basically just chilled in camp until it was time out, didn't we?
Yeah, after all that, it was basically like, you know what, let's just all relax, because it was, I think I said about it in E1 when I had I counted Demarian, it was a massive emotional spike at the very start of my event.
Yeah.
So basically there's like, boom, 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 and there's like, oh crap, that's used all my spoons.
Yeah, exactly.
So having this at the very end of the event is like, huge dump. Again, my spoons went, basically, but it's like, but there's only 2 hours left of me having to be in character. Then after that, it's time to go.
Yeah.
So it was much more easy to deal with that emotional spike. But it was a case of like, let's just sit around camp and just relax and just. I mean, it was one of those sort of loosey-goosey within the camp sort of timeout things.
Yeah.
Where like we're a little bit in character. If someone came up, we were in character. If someone wasn't there, it was more just like we're just chatting the shit as ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
it was just that huge emotional overburn.
Yeah, and because Dave hadn't really like planned on anything to do with Gellet falling in the battlefield, I think it was quite sudden. Yeah. A lot of people were coming up and being like, "Who are you going to be next?" Like, which is because obviously a lot of the character deaths that happen in the Empire, people already have a plan or like a backup character. I don't think Dave had that. I'm not going to try and speak for him, but it's like one of those things where everyone's really excited and they're like, "Where are you going next? What are you doing?" And he's just there like, which I think now is quite exciting because it means that there's like limitless potential. But it's a lot to process and a lot to go through, I think. So
yeah, definitely, it's one of those. So I've times where I've thought about what I want to do with my next character, but I have not put anything to paper. And it's like, would I want to go a different nation? Would I want to do this or that or the other? It's one of those things that takes a bit of time to think, I think.
Yeah, I think this event I really made, like I did a lot of antagonizing this event.
Did you?
I don't know if you noticed. I was very subtle.
Oh, I didn't at all.
But I made a load of progress with Agni. And I got a lot of really good game, which I'm really excited about, and I'm excited about what that means. Yeah. But a lot of people have been talking to me and is like, "I've just listened to the pre-LARP episode and you said, what is Agni without her Gellet?"
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
You got your keys, don't worry.
I know, I do. I got my keys, I got my Talus, I got Quill coming back for E3. It's all very exciting.
Exactly.
I think it's a really exciting time to be at Empire. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what the effects of this battle have on the wider thing of the game. Yeah. I'm really excited to read the wins. I need to figure out what I'm going to do downtime wise with my military unit.
Same, to be honest, but downtime's not open yet, so
yeah, I need to have a think. It was, again, going back to standing, we had this the Dadragor, so our egregore, came into the circle and did this whole speech about revenge.
Yes, how vengeance is not something you take a brand for, which someone had, and they basically cut it off their face.
Yeah. Because, again, in spring, part of the Navarre culture is that we unburden ourselves. So it's a chance to take an oath that you have not been able to fulfill. And
an oath that is no longer able to be fulfilled.
Yeah, exactly. And you unburden yourself of it. We did it. We became unburdened from the Entwined Paths, so we're now our own singular unit.
Yep.
There were loads of people unburdening themselves from all of this stuff. There was a lot going on.
It was very, very busy.
Yeah. But I'm really proud of us. Like, I think we did good.
We have.
And I think we gave Gellert the send off that he deserved.
Well, we'll see at E3.
Yeah, so like I think that the way we reacted gave Gellert a good send off, and I think that now we've got the time in between events to put into place with like a way that is good and fitting and proper for him.
Yes, definitely.
And I'm really excited to see how it goes, because E3 is my birthday weekend as well, like OC.
It is.
So E3 is always a big one.
Yep.
And I'm really excited to see, because like a lot of friends kind of avoided E2 because they were worried about the weather.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a big one.
Yes, definitely. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. So yeah, there's only as always, thank you so much to all of our Patreons. You guys.
Thank you so very much, all of you.
I'm not going to say it again, but you keep us running. So I need to figure out something else to say, because you do. And also thank you to anyone else who just interacts with any of our podcasts or our episodes.
Sends us messages, comments on our Facebook.
Yeah.
Even just listens on whatever your preferred podcast listening is. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you guys are all phenomenal, and I love hearing about everybody's weekends, everybody's stories. It's actually since taking over the podcast, I've actually learned so much about Anvil and Empire, and all of the little nuances that each of the nations have that I would never have been able to have if we didn't have it. So thank you guys. Out of our little shout out of the week, thank you so much to Rook for supporting us. You've been supporting since August 2023. I know, right? So thank you so much for sticking with us. You're all incredible people, in and out. And thank you to anybody that came up to us during E2, even when we were in the height of emotional stuff. It's really all just so worthwhile. So thank you.
Yeah.
And Bung.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my husband and for looking after me this weekend. I really appreciate you.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my wife.
My wife.
My wife.
My wife.
Yeah.
And so
it makes fun game for me, basically. I'm trying to clean up Agnes' messes sometimes.
Oh my god, yeah. Maybe his to E3 being a little less messy. I think that's
one can hope.
I think that's what we all need, is a little less.
Yeah, definitely.
So, my dear husband,
my dear wife,
strength to the Empire,
strength to Navarre.